Imagine Los Angeles in 1947, a city teeming with dreams, stardust, and illusion. But in the dark corners of Hollywood's golden age, there was a gruesome mystery that would unravel the city's perfect facade. This wasn't a typical crime. This was a murder that seeped into the very soul of the American consciousness, a haunting puzzle that still baffles even the most seasoned investigators. The body was found cut in half, drained of blood, and positioned with disturbing care. Elizabeth Short, a young woman with piercing blue eyes and a tragic past, became known as the Black Dahlia. But who was she really? And why was her life snuffed out in such an atrocious, calculated manner? As the years pass, the details only become more sinister, the rumors more absurd, yet the most chilling thing remains. In the search for the truth, we only find more questions, leaving us wondering, how much do we truly know about a person's fate? And how often do we fail to look beneath the surface of the crime itself, to see what lies hidden beneath? What drove Elizabeth Short to Los Angeles, hoping to find fame? Was her death an isolated incident, or a product of the city's growing underworld of power, corruption, and dark secrets? The people who surrounded her, were they innocent bystanders, or were they pieces on a much larger, deeply disturbing chessboard? Welcome to Legends and Lessons, where history is more than just dates and facts, where true crime is more than just details. Here, we dive deep beneath the surface to explore the eerie mysteries, the emotional fragility, and the broken souls behind the stories that haunt us. In every chapter we unfold, secrets buried in history come alive, reminding us that the real lessons often come not from the truth itself, but from the shadows that cling to it. Join us as we embark on a journey that uncovers more than just the events. Uncover the lives, the motives, and the deep emotions that guide every twist in the tale. As Elizabeth Short's story unfolds before us, we are drawn into the oppressive fog of post-war Los Angeles, a city where everything gleams on the surface, but hides a seedy underbelly fueled by fear, desperation, and fame. Elizabeth was just one of many young women drawn to the city's glittering promise of stardom. Like so many others, she came with hope in her eyes, but left with her life ripped from her in the most brutal way imaginable. Her rise, if you could call it that, was quick, fleeting, and ultimately tragic. She didn't have a great talent, nor was she the quintessential beauty that defined Hollywood in those days. So, what made her stand out to so many, particularly to the men who would bring such a violent end to her? Was she just a pawn in the grander scheme of a crime syndicate, or was something darker at play? It wasn't just the brutality of her murder that drew attention. It was the surreal circumstances. The mutilation of her body, displayed almost artistically on a sidewalk in Los Angeles, seemed calculated in a way that spoke not only to physical violence, but also to emotional devastation. What kind of mind, what kind of soul would be capable of such an act? In the weeks and months following her death, down scenes of suspects were nomad friends, lovers, even strangers with strange connections to her. But despite numerous leads, no one was ever convicted. Investigators were left in a maze of false confessions, dead ends, and broken lives. Yet there's something far more chilling about the case than even its violent nature. The deeper you look, the more you find that it reflects a disturbing truth about our perception of those we never truly know. Who was Elizabeth Short, really? To some, she was just a pretty face hoping to become a star. To others, she was a tragic figure whose life symbolized the darker side of a city that fed on dreams and disposed of them once they had no value. But could she have been more? Could she had been driven to desperate measures by more than just her ambitions. What roles did the people around her play in her final days? Was there a darker conspiracy? She had unknowingly fallen into a world where the price of fame was her very life. As we examine those closest to her, people like her, would-be boyfriends and mysterious acquaintances, what do we see? Do we merely see the events leading to her death, or are we witnessing something more profound? Could Elizabeth Short have been one of the many who found themselves swept up in the tides of a culture that prided itself on power and silence? What happened to her wasn't just a murder, it was a statement about the nature of fame, the cost of living under the spotlight, and the violence hidden just below a polished surface. The town of Los Angeles, with its glitz and glam, has always turned a blind eye to its own shadow. Was Short just another victim of that darkness? Or was she someone whose story holds a lesson for us, all about the fragile line between dreams and nightmares? Because beneath the glamour and allure, there are always those who watch the stars burn and quietly wait for them to fall. As the years wore on, and time created new layers of myth around Elizabeth's tragic tale, her legacy remained a puzzle that no one could piece together until today. What has this case taught us? Perhaps it is that the truth, however grim or shocking, is not always what we want it to be. It is easy to blame the unknown, the apparent conspiracy, but when we peel back the layers of deceit, we find human frailty, ambition, and longing. It's a story that transcends the typical labels of crime or fame. It's about the lengths we'll go to when driven by forces we may not even understand. Are we complicit in ignoring the damage fame does to the vulnerable? Or are we all trapped in a system that feeds on such tragedies, extracting what it can from human pain and disposing of the rest? Perhaps, in the end, the Black Dahlia's story is a haunting reflection of the fragility of dreams and the fine line between a life lived for the world's eyes and a life ended in darkness. So, how much of history is hidden beneath the layers of conspiracy and rumor? How often are we quick to judge, eager to connect dots that shouldn't be connected? Let Elizabeth Short's story resonate with you in this way. What if the truth is not just what happened to her, but how we, as a society, allowed it to happen again and again? Every story is filled with shadows. Behind every crime, there lies a history of emotional damage, lost opportunities, and untold pain. So, what does it all mean? How do we judge the lives of those whose stories blur into the darkness? Only one thing is certain. This story, like so many others, will never truly have a clear resolution. And yet, the lessons, however dark and disturbing, echo through time, forever pulling us toward the shadows that lie beneath the surface of every tale.